It's David Hooper, Big Podcast. This is day number 3 of the 30-day solo podcast challenge. My job is to help you grow a big audience for your message, give you a little boost of credibility among your peers, among the people who do business with you, and we are going to do that via your podcasting. This series of episodes is going to help you do a lot of things, both podcasting and non-podcasting. First of all, it's going to clarify your message. This is the number one thing that you can do to attract and build a great audience. You'll improve your delivery, not only on your podcast, but when you're on the phone, when you're talking to people in person, when you're giving speeches. I'm going to have you like a solid gold limousine on cloud wheels. You're going to be so smooth. And what happens when you're so smooth? You've got a great delivery. You've got a clear message. Well, you're going to make more money. Solo podcasting puts you out front. It puts your message out front. It attracts the right people to you. It pre-sells them because they know you personally. They know what you're all about. They want to work with you. People actually come to you. So there are a lot of benefits of doing this work. Thanks for joining me on this. This is day 3. And if you have not already, I want you to listen to the intro episode first. This explains the what and why of everything happening here, even more than I just did. So make sure you listen to the intro episode first and to make sure you get that episode and also the future episodes, because we're going to go on this for a while. It's going to take a minute, but if you stick with me, I'm going to get you where you want to go, all the things that I promised and more. Go to bigpodcast.com/subscribe, bigpodcast.com/subscribe. I've got 3 buttons for you: an Android button, an iPhone button, an RSS button. However you're getting your podcast, just click one of those 3 buttons. I'm going to deliver these episodes to you every single day. Previously, day 2, I asked you the question, how did you get into podcasting? As a podcaster who's got listeners, they're curious about you. They want to be with you. Like I said, they want to work with you. They're attracted to you. You're going to get that question a lot. How did you get into podcasting? I told you the story about getting into podcasting as a total fluke. It was an off-the-cuff remark during a radio pitch meeting. Today, we're going to talk about another question that you're going to be asked about the benefits of podcasting, something very specific. I want to know what has happened to you because of your podcast. Talked about being in that pitch meeting. I was in the music industry. Dave Jackson was in the music industry. Just a couple of months before that meeting, he had started a podcast about the music industry called Musicians Cooler. That's how I knew podcasting was an option for me. So listening to Dave Jackson, it let me know that that was possible. I'm working on a radio show. So, we could do what Dave Jackson does. Let's throw this thing up. And today, by sheer coincidence, he and I have both moved into the podcasting industry. If you've ever listened to his podcast, School of Podcasting, you know he asks this question a lot. Tell me a because of your podcast story. What happened because of your podcast? So that's what I'm asking to you. Tell me your because of your podcast story. And if you don't have one, your answer is going to be this: nothing. So say nothing. I don't have a because of my podcast story. Then make up a story that you want to happen because of your podcast. Seriously, make it up. This is an opportunity for you to get creative. The 30-day solo podcast challenge, this isn't like testifying in court. You're not putting your hand on the Bible, the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. The purpose of this is to get you good at telling stories. And if you don't have a good story yet, make one up. I want you to try things. I want you to see where they go. If it doesn't work out, you can record it again. You don't have to release it. I don't care what you do, but I want you to try it. So if you don't have a story, I want you to say, nothing has happened because of my podcast, but here's what I want to happen because of my podcast. Add flair. I've been talking about flair on this series. Make your story interesting. Make it larger than life. Let me give you an example. This is a true example. This actually did happen. Got my hand on the Bible right now. You're getting the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. The radio pitch that I mentioned yesterday, that was for a show called Music Business Radio. That was 2005. It's still on the air. It's still doing well. On the flagship station alone, about 60,000 people hear it each week. So I say that to say this is a because of my podcast story, but because the show is going out over broadcast radio, this is sort of a because of my radio show story. So here we go. 2007, I'm applying for a mortgage. And this was right after all the kind of crazy mortgage stuff where people were getting what I call liar loans. Basically, they were handing out money for everybody who wanted it. Banks would then turn around and sell these loans as junk bonds, and it was starting to become a problem. This is what led to the recession that we faced in about 2008. But right before then, things were starting to tighten up. Things were starting to change as far as getting a mortgage. I was applying for a mortgage, and the loan market was super tight. And I'm self-employed. I don't have W-2s. There's no proof of all this stuff. The proof is whatever I put on the paper, whatever I file on my taxes. That's the proof. I'm in that kind of business where I just don't have that exact paper trail that a lot of people do. You can understand that if you're self-employed. Banks always look at self-employed people a little bit more suspiciously than they do people with jobs. I'm in Nashville. I've got a buddy of mine in the mortgage business. Just went through him. He said, yeah, I can help you out. Got you taken care of. But that mortgage company, it's in Kentucky, just a few hours away. And man, they were running me through the ringer. Crazy amounts of paperwork. Fill it out, give them the paperwork. Okay, can you hand us more paperwork? Oh, okay. Here's more paperwork. Okay, can you hand us more paperwork? And that wasn't just them. That wasn't just the self-employment thing. That was because we were in a time where the rules were changing week by week and people were getting weird about loaning money. Again, this is the beginning of the recession. It was just a really hard time to buy and sell. And this is why a lot of people had real estate issues about that time. But I made it happen. The loan application, it finally gets to the underwriter. And this is where it gets weird. It lands on her desk on a Monday morning. And she says, I've heard of this guy. I listened to him on the radio last night. Now remember, this mortgage company, they're in Kentucky, just a few hours away from me. The underwriter, she just happened to be passing through Nashville on the previous night. She was coming back from vacation. She had the radio on. I came on the radio. My paperwork, it lands on her desk the next day. She said, wait a minute. I heard this guy on my drive through Nashville last night. The loan was approved. End of story. Crazy, right? But as a side note, I think it goes to show you that you don't have to reach everybody with your podcast. You just need to reach the right people. And the right person for me that day was the person who was going to approve that mortgage. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. Who knows, though? Thought it was a cool thing. And I'm going to say this, because of my podcast, or maybe radio show, if you want to stretch that a little bit, I got that mortgage. You have a similar story. What happened because of your podcast? That's what we're doing here for day 3. Here's your action item. Get a piece of paper, get a pen. I want you to outline that episode. I want you to think about the beginning, the middle, and the end. The intro, that's the setup. The meat, maybe the stakes are high. You're like me. Is he going to get it? Is he not going to get it? The market's tight. That's the meat of this story. Final thing, the wrap up. That's the big payoff. The underwriter just happened to hear me. Loan approved. You got a big payoff. That's where everybody can relax. Oh, that story's over. Because of my podcast, this is what happened. Why the heavy focus on stories? It's because stories are important. That's how we learn things. That's how we connect to people. I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. Facts tell, stories sell. Stories are where you can talk about yourself in an entertaining way. You can build your authority. You can get people to connect with you. So I want you to have that beginning, that middle, and the end. Wrap up that story in a nice bow. Keep your outline short and tight. Just bullet points. Don't overthink it. My suggestion, 3 to 5 minutes on it. Hit record. Go for it. Upload it. Send it to me. You can reach out to me at bigpodcast.com, or Twitter is another good way to do it. At David Hooper on Twitter. That's it for today. And right now, before you go do that, I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast. This is important because we're going through this step by step. And I want to get you to the end of this process, and I want to make you smoother, more confident. I want you to have more clarity in your message. So go to bigpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast. That way you won't miss what's coming up. You can go back and listen to that intro episode if you haven't already done that. While you are there, I've got a free podcast toolkit for you, 25 episode templates. I've got social media templates. I've got several documents for you that are going to make your podcast easier and quicker to produce. So go to bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Thank you for listening to the 30-day solo podcast challenge, and I will see you tomorrow for day 4.